Before we dive in, go to the link and tell us about yourself or a teacher friend that we should highlight. We are currently laying some groundwork by sharing background information and the perspective we hope to share. We are starting to build our future episodes to highlight unique work by real teachers in Oklahoma classrooms and connecting that work back to research conversations. So tell us about a teacher that needs to be shared with others so we can get those ideas out to everyone else.
Welcome back to Okay, Let's Teach Math. I'm Dr. Maria Stewart.
And I'm Dr. Kansas Cole.
And today we're going to be talking about teacher voice, your voice, what it is and why it's important.
You want to know a funny story about me?
Yeah.
So at some point during my undergrad experience, I made a statement about wanting to go into education instead of corporate world so I didn't have to deal with politics.
I am not exactly sure who lied to you, but this job is definitely not an apolitical career.
Oh, I've definitely learned that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times people think it is. But I think that's why we really need to be talking about teacher voice today, because in a world of politics and people telling teachers what to do, we want to start with their voices first.
Yeah, when we first started talking about this topic, I was thinking we'd find things about, the obvious stuff. The teacher's the one that's doing the work most directly with the teacher students. Honoring teacher voices creates stronger school climates. It creates a shared sense of responsibility, increases student achievement, reduces teacher turnover, listens to teachers as humans. And I think one of the most interesting things is over the last couple weeks is hearing the new Oklahoma State superintendent talking about you're either working with students or you're supporting the people working with students. But while we found all those things in the literature, as we were talking about things, I realized that you were coming at this with a completely different perspective. Can you share more about what you were thinking about?
Yeah, I was really thinking about the teacher's voice through the lens of the work we do as researchers. In that article we read by Johnson and Steele, they said, regardless of the pedagogical approach, we must engage in more explicit discussions about how teachers' voices and our voices as researchers are deformed and reformed through the traditional ways we report our research. For me, that really brings up the idea that we can't do our research without teachers, but we need to be intentional with how we represent their voices.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt you for a second.
Yeah.
What do you mean by deformed and reformed?
Yeah, I think the idea there is, we do research with teachers and they share their ideas with us. We interview them, we do surveys, we do focus groups, we do observations, and then we kind of deform what they say. We turn that into whatever our data is going to look like, and then we reform it in the sense of these are the themes for answering our research questions or whatever. But I think when we do that, we lose something. We definitely gain insight, right? When I think across the voices of 20 teachers, that's powerful.
Right.
But we're also losing something. It's almost kind of, in a sense, dehumanizing, right? Because what those teachers said now might get extracted into one sentence.
Right.
Or a handful of quotes.
And it's no longer 20 teachers saying it. It's just one teacher saying it in these words on the page in this article that we're reading.
That's right. And so I think for me, when I think about teacher voice, I want to think about how authentically we can lift up that voice in our research and in the work that we do with teachers.
So it sounds like teacher voices and thinking about teacher voices is a whole lot more complex than I was initially thinking about. And it didn't seem to be as talked about as we were thinking it would be. This came really apparent when we were digging around and stuff. I was completely underwhelmed by the things that we were finding. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I think there was definitely things I anticipated we would find, kind of like you were saying. I thought we would find some literature about how valuing teacher voices in schools really creates a good culture or improves teacher retention, and we saw those things. But I didn't see as much about teacher voice in our research.
Yeah, and I think we also didn't see a lot about the raw, unedited form of a teacher voice. We all know we like the stories from our friends best. We like the teacher-to-teacher stories. We don't believe the stuff that we see out there. We believe the thing that our neighbor told us, or we believe this thing that a teacher told us is working. And so I think that's where we find really powerful and authentic voices. But I agree, we didn't see a whole lot of information about that, and I'm kind of curious why that might have been.
Yeah, and not to say, we just want to be clear here, those things might exist out there. We did a search, but I don't want to say it doesn't exist.
Definitely not an exhaustive search.
That's right.
We have a finite amount of time that we were working on, and we wanted, we had to limit it at some point.
That's right. But I agree with you. I think the other space where I don't see teacher voice enough is we do all of these professional developments, right? And teachers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's your teacher workday PD, and you're sitting in the auditorium with every teacher in your district, and there's a PD going on. And I think a lot of times those PDs start from the place of people like Dr. Cole and myself, where we're teacher educators and we do professional development, or maybe some company comes in and does professional development or whatever. But I think when that's happening, we're positioning us, the PD developers, as the knowers. We know the best practice, we know what to do, and we're there to tell you, the teacher, what you should be doing in your classroom. And I think
it's really powerful to think of us more as facilitators of information. We're not the knowers of the information. We're just the ones that kind of take it and package it up in a way to take it to somebody else to share it.
Yes, for sure. But I think, where do we get those ideas from? Those ideas come out of work that we saw other teachers doing.
Right.
Or research that we've done with teachers. And so I think for us, this podcast is about starting with, what are teachers doing? And let's elevate their voices. And let's let them tell their story instead of us reforming it into something that we might share.
Right, I agree. So I'm curious, though, we get teacher voices out there. Who's hearing their voices?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Johnson and Steele talk about this idea of, if you name the teachers, then the teachers are named. And I think that comes from this idea of who's hearing the teacher's voice and what are the repercussions of those voices being heard.
Right. So often we like to just close our door and do our thing and not be that voice that's out there.
That's right.
Or that person that's highlighted.
But my thought is it's like the idea of, if a tree falls in the forest, doesn't make a sound. If a teacher does something really cool in their classroom and no one's around to witness it and they don't share it with anybody, then how does anyone know that cool thing is happening?
Right. So there's a lot of balance. I feel like there has to be a lot of balance between sharing that unique awesomeness, especially with somebody that's more, I'm going to say, more of an introvert, or somebody that doesn't like to put their creativity out there. I mean, that's a vulnerable space to be able to take what you're doing in the classroom and put it out there as an object for people to talk about, analyze, discuss, like it, not like it, all of those things. It's a very vulnerable thing. And I think in some ways, in some places, it can also draw attention where a person just doesn't want that attention.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you and I need to consider as we work on this podcast. But teachers work under different sets of directives and expectations, and from a lot of different stakeholders. And sometimes their idea getting out there can put them at risk.
Yeah, don't you have a fun story about this? Or maybe not a fun story, but...
It did not feel fun at the time. But yeah, I do. And so in my first year of teaching, I was teaching high school algebra 1, and I really wanted to do this kind of inquiry-based, student-centered instruction in my classroom. And that was not the norm at my school from anyone in my math department. And so I started doing some cool things. And one day the principal saw I was working with my students in the hallway. We were measuring stairs to talk about
fun
slope.
Activity.
Very fun. My students were very engaged. But the principal saw, and he really liked what we were doing. And at the next faculty meeting, before we started, he was like, I want to recognize Miss Nielsen at the time for some really cool stuff that she was doing in our classroom. And he talked about what I was doing. And I think
That's not awkward for a first-year teacher at all.
No, I felt very fine.
I'm sure he was just trying to empower you. Like she was doing awesome things, and I want people to know. And
yes, for sure. And I think that was his intention. I think he was trying to make me feel seen and, like, proud of the work that I'm doing. And I'm sure that was his goal. But what it ended up doing is it kind of pitted me against the rest of my department.
Right.
Because it singled me out as someone who was doing something totally different. Rochelle Gutierrez calls it creative insubordination.
Oh yes, love that phrase. I think that goes back to the close the door and do our thing.
That's right, and that's what I was doing. Right, I just wasn't telling everybody what I was doing, but in him recognizing me in front of the entire school, all the faculty, like the rest of the math teachers, it kind of put a target on my back from them because they kind of took it as I didn't think what they were doing was good.
Right.
And so when we think about this podcast, we want to make sure that we're not doing that to teachers either.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think just going back to this idea of teacher voice and kind of our promise to you as our listeners and to the teachers that come on this podcast, we want to make sure that we have authentic ideas from real teachers. These aren't our ideas.
Right.
These are real teachers in our state that are doing amazing things that want to share that idea with others. And also, we promise that the voices of the teachers on our show will be unedited. I mean, at least if they...
Unless they want us to edit something. Yeah.
That's right.
Like
Everyone
they'll have
makes
total
a
control
mistake.
over it.
That's right.
I think something that I think sometimes gets lost is when we're doing research work and we are doing the deforming and reforming of things, or of teacher voices. I think sometimes it gets lost that that's not always, even when we're working just with a small sample size of like 2 or 3 teachers, and we're really doing some really deep qualitative work on that, meaning we're explaining and talking about and describing, there's still protocols in place that we're required to follow to keep teachers anonymous. Like there's a lot of different things that we have to follow in those regards. And I think sometimes that gets lost as well. But I think something we really want to do is we love the teacher-to-teacher conversation, and we really want to humanize the work that you guys are doing. We don't want it to be, oh, this thing out there in this article says that this is the stuff that you should be doing. We want it to be that you guys are doing awesome things and sharing that to another teacher and being that vehicle and that way of elevating your voice.
Yeah, I think you can think of this as teacher first PD, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
We're not doing the PD.
Wait, what does teacher first PD mean?
Yeah.
As a buzzword, what does that mean?
Yeah, we're not doing the PD. The teachers are doing the PD.
Yeah,
right?
again, we're just facilitating it. We're facilitating a sharing of information.
We are creating a platform for teachers to get their voices out there.
So this ended up being a lot more complex, and I'm excited to kind of dig into this some more as we continue our work and find ways that we can kind of embed some more information with it, because I think it's really complex and dense, but also really powerful when we start getting in and looking at it and analyzing it some more.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I think also, again, we did not do an exhaustive search. We definitely looked for some things, and we found some great articles, and we'll do that every time. But anytime you feel like we missed something, or there was an article we missed, or a point you want to make that we didn't catch, send us an email, leave a comment. We want to know about those things, and we're here to grow and learn too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to drop some things down in the show notes. We'll have a couple of different articles that we talked about, and then if you guys want to share some more information as well, put that down there for us to get out there to everybody.
Yeah, so that's what we were thinking about teacher voice, and I'm sure we'll continue this conversation, but you want to tell them what we're talking about next time?
Yes, next time we're talking about connecting research and practice, which I think really dovetails really, really strongly with what we were just talking about as far as teacher voice and amplifying it and elevating it, and how do we share the teacher voice but be true to research protocols, but also being honest and authentic to the audience that's taking in the information. So yeah, join us for episode 4, which is research to practice. And then we'll get into our episodes with our teachers. Don't forget to share information about a teacher with us. If there's somebody we should highlight, that link is down in the section below as well. And feel free to reach out to us in any way you'd like.